Hi everyone, welcome back to the DigitalWeek Forum. The next presentation is about medical and medtech, and I'm very honored to have Mr. Rafael Lapalo from the Paladin Medical, who is also going to talk to us about investing into the medical tech sector. Hello, Rafael. How are you doing?
Hi, Rico. Very well, thank you.
So without further ado, Paladin, Rafael, you can take the floor and start with the presentation.
Thank you for this invitation to this forum. Well, I'm sure that this is going to be different than what you've seen in past earlier today, since we'll be talking medtech. And don't get me wrong, this is a very interesting field, and actually there's been a lot of investment in medtech, especially cardiovascular, internationally. So this is a segment that has proven pathways. Those pathways relate to early stage, like prototyping, bench testing, preclinical, clinical, and then approval for CE and FDA, that is a regulatory approval, at which very oftentimes you have exits to multinational companies. So, well, medtech is about building medical devices, and those medical devices, well, save lives of all of us, and in the end, and it's absolutely necessary that they are of high quality, that they are regulatory approved, and that they are done in the hands of proper physicians that are properly trained, etc. So, well, the medtech I'm going to talk about is not about syringe. It's not about equipment that you might think, but it's very complex, very advanced medical technology that is related to complex teamwork and complex engineering, and in a way the startup needs to put all the puzzles together to make it happen, and it's typically from 4 to 7 years venture in order to deliver the medical device from the idea to the market. And actually not many of startups make it, because the people with enough experience and the innovations out there is not that much as you might think. And in a way, the devices that are right to the market are few. However, if you put the attention, or if you choose well the startup and the team that executes it, well, it can create great returns to investors, and it can help save lives, including our lives in the future as well. So today we're gonna talk about this example of a medtech company that I'm leading myself. I have more than 10 years of experience in medtech industry, from product development, prototyping, regulatory investment to product launch. And actually this startup, it's a US-based startup. It's a Delaware C Corp that is developing the next generation left atrial appendage occlusion device. It probably doesn't say a lot, but just imagine that everybody has a left atrial appendage. So it's a part in our heart that is an appendage which, if it's not closed in certain type of patients, might lead to ischemic stroke. So in a way, you need to have a device that would prevent this from happening, as you don't want to have stroke. So you have to close this part of your heart in some specific cases in order to avoid ischemic stroke. So this is about creation of a medical device that would prevent ischemic stroke. Let's go. Well, this is the agenda. So we will be talking about, identifying the unmet need, about market, about what's out there, going through the important pillars of a medtech company that needs to be taken into consideration once building this startup, and this is in a way a structure that has been proven in past, and the structure that has developed the devices and launched them in the market. So we are following this structure in this startup. Well, I personally delivered medical devices in past to the market too. So, well, I would like to walk you through those aspects from the entrepreneur's perspective, but also from the investor's perspective. So what is important to look at once in the defining the startup, and what is necessary also from the entrepreneur side to execute in order to make sure and maximize chances for the success of the project. So, well, the objective of this company is to build a next generation superior device for stroke prevention coming from the left atrial appendage. Well, first of all, and the fundamental aspect of each medtech company is to identify the unmet need, or where the device can have its competitive advantage. So in this case, well, we have patients with atrial fibrillations that currently take drugs for this type of treatment. However, many of those patients are refractory to medical therapy. So those high bleeding patients cannot take drugs, and they are eligible for medical device of this sort that can bring better results and that would not put the patient at risk. So the unmet need from a medical standpoint here is big, because there is a clear need for a device that would be identified for those patients that have high bleeding risk and that have intolerance for drug therapy. Then another aspect of the large unmet need is about market. So given the studies in past on this example showed that the device is superior for certain type of patients than to medical therapy, this market is booming. So actually this LAA market is growing at around 24% CAGR, and is expected to reach 1 billion just in 2023. So right now we are at half of it in 2019. In 2018 we were at 400 million. Now in 2021 we're already above 500 million, and this is growing very fast. So that means that there will be a big space for new device in this market, as there is a big need for such a device. So this is a key element when once identifying the business opportunity in the medtech field. You need to have a large unmet need, and you have to have a market, because if the market is small, typically the medtech investors would be hesitant to invest such a project, because the market might be still non-proven, so it's risky. So with a big market opportunity, you mitigate the risk, as you know that there will be a market for this type of device in the future. Well, in this case, we also have already reimbursement. So in the US especially, this is a key aspect. So if you do have reimbursement, it means that you can easily then sell the device, whether it's a startup itself or a multinational company that would acquire the startup at some certain point of time. But this is already a very good news for investor, because he knows that the startup will be able to place the device in the market, and actually the market would buy it as the procedure is reimbursed. So in this case, for example, we have over $23,000 for a procedure with this type of device that hospital would receive while paying for this type of device around $15,000. So hospital would get $23,000, would pay $15,000 for the device. So the difference is, well, what hospital would be making on this procedure. Obviously here, for us and for the startup, the average selling price does not refer to the value of the reimbursement, but it refers to the value of what the device would sell for. So here 15K, while the manufacturing cost in this particular example are much lower than that. So typically when you talk about a profitable medical device with big potential, you should consider around 80% gross profit margin, and well, this startup has it. So this is ticked in our list. Moving forward, so well, in this particular case, this startup is not the first one to develop such a device. However, it's learning from past experiences and from past mistakes in a way. So the market leader in this particular case is a device called Watchman that is right now distributed by a multinational company called Boston Scientific. And this company actually bought it from a startup like the one of Paladin right now that is called Atritech. So this startup was developed in early 2000s and developed this device for about several years, after which it had an exit to Boston Scientific for a value of over 700 million. So here, in this case, we have huge return to investors as well. The capital invested in this case, I go from memory, was around 90 millions, while the exit was 700 million. So you can make a calculations on the return to investors here. And there was a similar case for a similar device. The startup was called AGA Medical. And actually, after they hit some important milestones like preclinical, first in man, so rather a later stage in terms of development medical device company, they had an IPO in the US. And after this IPO, actually 1 year later, they had M&A. So as you can see here, well, the strategy, of course, is to follow the rules in terms of medical device development pathway. However, when it comes to exit, you have options. So you have an IPO, you have M&A, and you can do distribution after the CE or FDA approval, which then confirms that your device has traction also in the market, and then typically you would go either for IPO or M&A in order to have to create returns to your investors. So just coming back to the unmet need in this particular case, the purpose of this device is to close the left atrial appendage. So if the device does not close it fully, there are leaks. If there are leaks, there is still risk for stroke. So in a way, this article from 2020, published by reputable interventional cardiologists, talks about those leaks that are present after closure of LAA with current devices, which in a way confirms the unmet need still in this market. So this is very good to support. This is very good always to support your your slides or your hypothesis with publications or with medical articles that then help you when you talk with investors and when you make your case about why this device, well, is needed. So moving forward, well, here there are some information typically for the scientific board of investors, where we go a little bit more in details about the medical need for this device. So in this particular case, well, the variable anatomies and difficulty in complete sealing is what well, our device targets. And here are some examples of some anatomies. And well, we see here this the structure of our hearts, and this is actually the left atrial appendage. So this appendage in our heart that, well, it's closed by this device here. So typically it's empty, and we see actually that there is some leak here. So it means that, well, if you have some embolic material here that is stored, well, it shouldn't move out here because, well, here it goes to your brain and then it can cause ischemic stroke. So the unmet need in this particular case are those leaks, which this startup targets to eliminate. Here we have some comparables about, well, Paladin medical technology to the current market players, and it's always good to have this type of slide, as well, people like to see what your device proposes versus what's out there in the market. So on our example here, well, we target better sealing, we target better anchoring that is also more atraumatic, and we target injection and aspirations. That is additional option for interventional cardiologists when performing this procedure to maximize the efficacy of this procedure. So this is our purpose, to maximize the value proposition in a way so that the startup becomes an attractive purchase for a multinational company. Well, after you identified the unmet need, after you talked about the market, the problem, in a way, you should state how you solve it. So this device solves it in the three different ways. Well, the first one is about sealing, the second is about anchoring, and the third, the novel injection aspiration. So, well, just make sure you show to your investor what is your solution about, so that they can understand it well. In our case, we have 3 slides presenting, well, the medical part here, so how we make a difference, 1, 2, 3. I'll not go into the details regarding, but I'm happy to then go offline and to discuss it more in details. Well, it's also important to show, how you validate your prototype, how you validate your bench. And in our case, this was tested in the hospital, in the cath lab, where the device was implanted in the heart, and we saw the sealing and the performance was very good and as expected. So we can, in a way, move on, and this is our first validation. So validation is very important to any investor in medtech, and they would ask for it always. Of course, if you're early stage investor, you cannot have too much, but it's always good to have at least prototype, and it's good to have some bench tests. Otherwise, well, you're talking about concept, and concept may be even too risky, even for early stage investors. So make sure you have at least prototype and some bench tests, before you go out there fundraising. Well, in this particular case, in our project, we have involved the leading interventional cardiologists from Italy, from US, engineers, and who participate in the development of this. So we've been very lucky to have them on board, and they're also contributing to this. So I would say make sure you have a complete team, or the team would be ready whenever the startup is ready or funded to join you in this venture. So try to get the complementary team that would then help you develop and execute the milestones. So in this case, particularly, we have a product development map, and that goes through the R&D, prototyping, patenting stage. And in this case, it was done in our pre-seed phase. So sometimes those type of activities are also done in seed. So in our case, we decided to do in pre-seed so that we can have a larger raise for a seed. So in this particular case, the raise is 2 million, but typically, well, in the Silicon Valley, it's the range is from 1.5 to 3 million. We calculated that with 2 million, we'll be able to arrive to important milestone, that is a GLP preclinical study. That's a great validation for the startup. After which we would raise a Series A with 10 million, and to make sure that we will have enough capital to perform first-in-man study and the safety study. So as you see, also the valuations are changing dramatically from seed to Series A, and then later stage. Those data are taken from PitchBook. So these are historical data for the last 5 years for those type of segments of the development. And the exits, as you see, after first in man, were on average of 210 million. And typically here, well, you have around 12 million invested of capital at the exit of 210. So returns potentially are very interesting. While if you go later stage, so you perform efficacy study, and then you get CE or FDA or both, then your valuation is going up a lot, and typically there is exit opportunity number 2 there. So in terms of the timeline, so here we have 4 years development plan to get the CE. So FDA would take probably 1 or 2 years more. But as you can see, this is rather a structured project, so everything can be planned. So if you have good fundamentals, for your project, and if you in the first place have an innovative device, well, you have a high chance to succeed. I'm the CEO of this, and I understand the space pretty well. I've done some of the project of this sort in past. I've also dealt with distribution in Europe of the cardiovascular devices, so promoting and selling them directly to the hospitals. But in order to execute the project, you have to have a team, and as I said, it's important to have it complementary as much as possible. So here we have, for example, our other team members that Howard worked for multinational companies who can develop multiple devices that are present right now worldwide in the market. So they're present in the hospitals, in interventional cardiology departments. So it's important to have people that have done this, so you mitigate the risk of potential failures. So people with experience, people with motivations are always good to be on the team. And here we have different type of advisors. So advisors are also good, so you don't have to pay them full salaries, as you have to be also capital efficient, especially at seed. But you can pay them by hours, you can pay them equity, you can pay them within some mixed hybrid formulas. But it's good to have different point of views in order to execute the project correctly too. So in this case, we have 4 corporate advisors. And we also have scientific advisors. So here, particularly in medical field, you just need to make sure that each milestone and each device iteration or protocol for the study is reviewed correctly. So, well, in our case, we wanted to make sure that this is done. So we identified top advisors, and they are around the project. So make sure you have good corporate, so entrepreneur and financial people, but also the scientific and medical part. When talking about, well, medtech startups. Not to underestimate also the legal counsel, which, well, make sure that your IP is protected well, and then the same people needs to lead you to, well, correct agreement drafting, and then also negotiation when it comes to IPO and M&A. So you don't want to have lawyers that were obstacles for everything, but they need to look over your best interests and they need to help you, but they have to also understand the second party. So they, in a way, need to have a mindset of deal makers, and then, well, you can increase the chances of success and chances for an exit. So, well, in this particular case, we've been also accelerated by the holding, medtech holding, that had all the resources, so engineering, physicians, legal team, engineering facility, bench test facility that will help Paladin to develop the initial phase of this project. So having this type of help from experienced partners is always good, and in our case it worked out well. So actually this is about M&A. So as you see, well, there are 3 companies without this type of device, and there are numerous multinational medical companies without this device. Potentially they could be your M&A partners. I mean, here our M&A partners, but the important fact here is that, well, there is a big M&A space, and there is a big chance for an M&A for this startup. So think who will be then your customer for your startup, and start to talk to them early, so you make sure that when the time comes and once you hit the milestones, that you have this dialogue with them and that you can actually lead to the transaction. So in our case, well, we are raising the seed. It's $2 million seed, well, I think the time just on time right now. So happy to answer all the questions that there might be, and happy to get offline or to discuss more regarding medtech.
Thank you very much, Rafael. I think we have only got 1 minute left. So I'll take the question offline with you later on.
Right. Just have a look at this table. It's the returns in the field. Well, around 6x returns for deals from 2015 to 19 for medtech companies, and also IPO values. So well, there are data. This is Silicon Valley data. Silicon Valley Bank data. And here, for example, some valuation, pre-money valuation of the startups at the, well, seed, Series A, Series B. Well, that's all interesting. Happy to comment and happy to, well, participate. So thank you, Rico. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, we'll be in touch. So we'll be back with the next speaker in a minute. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.